before. We still have it. We use it next door for ourselves now. But this is the Seraphim brewer. It's actually the next step in evolution, getting it closer towards all the Alpha de Miches and all the reverse French press, the Clovers, and all the other type of exotic coffee brewers out there now. Those are all kind of like one style of brewing only, which is what's different compared to the Seraphim. The Seraphim, if you want, you can actually change the spray head, and you can actually change the spray pattern and the water volume by changing the spray head. Therefore, you can accommodate a different pulse rate and a flow rate for the different types of tools. And what I mean by that is, like, you can look up here, we actually have the Kalitas, which is this little metal basket here. And then we also have, which is, kind of parallel to like a Hario. Wow. But it's got 3 holes instead of just 2 or 1 on the bottom. So you got a different flow rate there. But then, this is adaptable so that you can actually do a Chemex with the same machine. So, and then of course you can actually fine tune it for a V60. They actually have a purple shower head, which is better for really stretching out the water process, the water contact time, and to get a little bit of a flow pattern difference. So just so you guys know, this is like what the next step is in evolution. And to kind of give you an idea of what is available for brew baskets.
Yeah, look at this. It's amazing.
Are those kind of ceramic?
No, they're plastic. So
let me get out of your way.
You have a different hole pattern there compared to like what, this is for the batch brewer, the one that does like a gallon pot for us. So you can see that this one has about like 8-9 more holes more to get the shower pattern bigger for a bigger brew basket, where this one is actually centered more closely towards the center so that you can do like the Kalita or the Chemex. So also the openings on the back of the spray heads, that's actually what changes the flow rate. So Curtis has kind of come out with these to really help out fine-tuning the water contact times. So obviously for a big batch brewer, for 3 minutes, you got to have a higher flow rate. For 2 minutes on a Kalita or a Chemex, you have to have a smaller water flow. 2.5 is what we're targeting. Then the purple one really changes that. I think the purple goes about 3.5 minutes. So just from the preliminaries, actually I was fortunate that the guy that helped design these for Curtis is a buddy, and he actually
You took it out of
this one. He actually showed me what they were playing with as far as theories. So I actually made my first gray shower head like 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, which I didn't realize that we were going to go to Seraphim, but you couldn't tell me that information. You just could tell me that, hey, why don't you play with this stuff and see how it goes.
Well, they also have coffee pots too, right?
Yeah, you can do 1 gallon, 1.5, get 3 gallon, whatever.
When I was at Qualcomm, I thought maybe getting one of the Line Brothers guys one for college. It has that gray one, which unscrews and everything.
Well, the old gray ones were different. This is the new advanced gray. But yeah, so that's a nice advantage to having the Seraphim. We could really, like I said, we can actually fine tune it for the V60. We've got the Kalita, Chemex. You could even do like a French press, and you could change it so that you don't have to, with a French press, you just kind of do saturation and let it go. Well, you can actually do a pulse saturation, which will actually agitate the coffee for you, pulling the plunger out. And the shower pattern's smaller so that it can actually fit inside there and agitate the coffee for you, therefore giving you a better extraction even on your French press. So they've really started thinking out of the box when it comes to this type of a brewer that's so versatile for anything and everything you want to do. Now, why automation? Well, the machine never comes in sick, hungover, calls in for a day off. Get my hit yet? It doesn't have an attitude, doesn't have a twisty mustache, the peg pants. So therefore, it's more consistent. Once you program the coffee and you can really fine tune the coffee for each size vessel that you're going to brew with, you can really kind of fine tune it. Here on ours, you can see we actually have it doing 449, which is which is 450 milliliters, basically. So we're doing a 15-to-1 ratio, 30 grams of coffee for 449 milliliters of water. We actually have a setting so that you can actually do a Chemex on some of the other coffees. Only the coffees that we offer in both styles actually have that recipe programmed in. But each coffee, you can actually do 3 different settings. So let's say you want to do a setting for Kalita, you can have that. And if let's say you change the spray head real quickly to the purple, you can actually do a V60. And then you want to put the gray spray head back on, then you can do a Chemex, all out of the same programming, and actually have it so it's replicable. Consistency, right? Nothing like going to your coffee shop and having coffee taste different, because Frankie made it one day, Johnny made it the next day, Margaret made it the next day, and all 3 times that coffee never tasted the same. This actually helps prevent that.
Is that the same, like, no matter what type of coffee you use, well, would it be that same kind of profile?
Once you fine tune it, and actually, we have the grinder setting correctly for the water contact time. So once you fine tune that coffee, you can actually lock and store that program. So now it becomes replicable. Yep.
Does it have software? Is that how
Yeah,
it works?
absolutely. And the software is consistently getting updated. So our Gold Cup brewer had, at the time, our first Gold Cup brewer, ours, was a prototype. It had prototype software. I made the mistake of downloading all the recipes into a little stick, a USB stick, taking it to my client who just bought one of those Gold Cups off me, plugged it into the side of his, not compatible.
Oh, well, it's plumbing, yeah?
Different operating system, yeah, because it had been upgraded twice since we had gotten our prototype one. So I had to take it back, go to the computer, go to the website, upload them to the computer programmer, who therefore translated them so that the modern one could accept them.
How far out is it, Rigo, from where the software, where you have it, kind of dialed in?
How do you mean?
Well, if there are software upgrades, for example, the filter the prototype for the filter you came up with 2 years later, it's reached this level. So now what it's doing is looking at all of the different profiles, the different processes that this machine needs to perform a function for, and running software for it. And you're saying the software updates. So, in other words, you're saying it's not perfect right now.
Oh no, it's perfect.
It is.
But what happens is, like before, we didn't have access to the purple spray head. So now they gotta do all the computations for a different flow rate and water pattern for the purple shower head. So that's why mine did not work. There was no even thought, there was no talks of the purple shower head, and all the new Gold Cup brewers have the purple shower head.
Is my thinking about this right? The purple shower head, because it's a 3.5 over 2, but it's actually a pour over.
It is
Because
a pour
of the
over.
time. It's a pour over filter.
It's a pour over shower head.
Yeah.
So it's specifically modified for 3.5, like up to 3.5 minutes for shower water contact time. So that whole computation takes different amount of like water series. If you
I see. So I get the picture. It gets consistent.
it's more consistent, yeah. And the reason why is because if you go into the programming for let's see if I did this right. So if you go into the brew settings, and you actually physically have to tell it, or it asks you what shower head's on the machine, and then it gives you those computations for that water contact time. So it gives you those parameters that you can adjust. And then after that, you can actually go in here to the flow rate, and you can modify that. Let's say some of the guys that I know have already been really drilling these out more to change the water flow rate. They don't want 3.5, they want consistently more 3-minute water contact. So they're boring it open just a little bit more.
On the flip side of it, how do you compensate for the inconsistencies in coffee roasts? By grind?
No, you actually have to physically come in here and dial it into that coffee and grind. Yeah, so over here we actually have it. We actually have like the grind particulate size. That's how we adjust it. We don't really go by roast, except for when we finalize the actual recipe for it. What you do for that is that's when you start shortening or lengthening the water contact times. Darker roasts usually want a longer water contact time. Brighter third wave style wants a shorter water contact time, in general. Now, your personal preference, your coffee that you're using will dictate how much or how little you add to it. No, that's all basically learning and tasting, cupping at that point, just to make sure that you've got the flavors you want out of that coffee. Yeah. But with the Curtis, unlike the old buns or anything else, you were not allowed. You couldn't go in there and change flow rates. You actually had to calculate what the flow rate was, depending on the water pressure coming into the machine. Where this one, you could actually change the flow rate. You can kind of fake it out per se, and really modify it to get what you want out of it. So it's just kind of really interesting and neat. But the one nice thing that I like, you can, like I said, you can actually calculate it for all, like up to 3 different vessels or different types of brewing apparatuses, and lock them all in, and changing it to gray, purple, or whatever color spray head you got for the
Sort
water.
of takes the mumbo jumbo out of it.
It actually gives you a lot more mumbo jumbo to decipher.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, but you got to understand what each one of those
I mean,
little.
I've seen, with pour overs, I've seen people, different shapes with the cones and 30, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like you go,
Right, but this actually gives it all to you in a written format, and you adjust it, and then you can lock it in. That's what's really nice, because it actually opens up the book and it tells you everything.
so what's your experience with the product?
Really good. Much better than the Gold Cup, because this one actually allows us to kind of tweak it a little bit more, which has been really nice. So with that being said, I want to taste coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So since we don't have Penasquito's Gold in here, I'm going to actually use the Colombian.
Better get it right. We'll blame it on
Well,
you. We can blame it on
well,
you.
we just wait till next year, right? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
unfortunately. It's
Yeah.
November, December. It's coffee colored, isn't it?
How did they come up with the name Seraphim? Seraphim.
It actually was some Greek
Oh,
something or
yeah,
other.
Seraph was Seraph.
It's an angel.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
There,
It's an angel. I forget what the actual.
Oh, it's fruit.
Yeah, it's a. So it did pre-wet already, and now.
You want this?
Sorry about that.
Seraphim. Great.
Google it; it'll tell you. I forgot what it meant, but it means it's something to do with Greek mythology.
Well, or holly. Yeah, holly.
I'm glad Mary left.
Smells like coffee.
There's just nothing better than a really good cup of coffee. Well, there are. There are things that compare, but, just a good cup of coffee. Are you doing any music things in the holidays?
Nah. We had a jam,
Okay.
big jam last month.
It's done with the infusion. Oh, it's done with the pour.
Yep.
It's
It's just leaking now.
No, it's got a little more to go. It's doing
It's got 1 minute and
Oh,
23
it's
seconds.
doing-
22,
yes.
21, 20.
yes, it's like a pour over.
Yeah, instead of having little.
How's that?
Oh, I can change that in a second. 38, 37, 36.
Man, it's looking good.
Looks like coffee. Smells like coffee.
Coffee.
Smells like electric circuits burning. So will it actually stop dripping when it gets to 13?
That one, yeah, it's very low contrast, but this
Okay.
is, you see
And for those that are not familiar,
that
basically
kind of thing there?
for
Yeah,
this,
That's it, that's a pouring,
for
it's
the
very low
brewer,
contrast, but
you have
So-
an under counter
this is time.
big water heater.
And you can see it.
This is actually the trash can. Let me get this out of the way. But right there is what you see is the big heater. So it's just a heater with a control box that pulses the water out.